everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk about Black History Month, the month that is a celebration of my people, because I am a black man and everything. And it's about all our accomplishments, all the oppression that we have gone through over like centuries of living in like America and stuff like that. And even till this day, we are still being oppressed. And so I'm here today to talk to you about certain characters or TV shows or episodes that revolve around Black History Month that I personally enjoy. So I'm here today to talk to you about Hangin with Mr. Cooper, Season 1, the pilot, and also kind of the rundown review. So Hangin with Mr. Cooper was a show I loved in the 90s growing up. It was one of like just a really wholesome, funny, like black comedy series. And Mark Curry he deserves more credit than what he's given. Like the dude is hilarious. Like, 'cause when people think of the greats, many people don't associate that with him. But people need to remember this dude has this really unique comedic timing and this really good stand-up quality to his comedy that he deserves to be placed in like the Hall of Greats. You know what I'm saying? Like this show came out in 92 and it came out 1 month after Martin. And black comedies were on the rise in the early 90s, thanks to shows like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in like the early 90s, and then of course shows like Family Matters in like the 80s and stuff. And of course, not I forget like shows like The Jeffersons and Good Times of like the 70s and 80s, but those around those decades. But in the 90s saw like this rise of like black comedies in the early 90s that lasted for the most part 5 to 7 years. And then it kind of just like disappeared from like local basic cable channels and stuff. But this show, when it came out on ABC, and like I said before, it came out in 92, and it originally came out on Tuesday nights, but then it got added to like the TGIF Friday night line. And if you knew what TGIF was back in the day, that means you grew up in the 90s. Back in those days, people didn't go like nowadays in modern time, Friday is known as the Friday night death slot where shows go to die, but not in the 90s. In the 90s, oh, you sat your behind down and you watched sitcoms. You didn't go clubbing or partying, nothing like that. And this show was created by Jeff Franklin, the dude who created Full House. And so like the thing about Hang on Mr. Cooper was that like it was like your typical white sitcom but with a black vibe and a black cast, and it wasn't one of those struggling like lower class like family black shows, and it wasn't one of those like high society rich like black shows where somebody's like a doctor or this and that, or a lawyer or a judge. It was kind of like somewhere in the middle. They weren't necessarily like poor, but it wasn't necessarily rich either. And this show has been actually compared to Three's Company, but with a black cast, because like it had 2 female roommates and 1 black or 1 male roommate and stuff, and that was the formula of Three's Company: 2 female, 1 male. And so, like, but this show seemed like it had a lot of changes and stuff out of this run. Like, it's funny because, like, the opening was something weird and different. Like, it was just Mark sitting on the couch, and all of a sudden, the father from Family Pains, Alan Thicke, comes in and is like, "Honey, I'm home," and it's just like Mark's all like, "Man, what you doing up in my house?" And he's all like, "This is my house." He's all like, "Nah," and he's all like, See, there's my family portrait up there. And he's like, oh, I wonder who these white people were. See, they in the first season they reused a lot that was from Family Pains, I think the show was called. And it was just like a weird exchange between him and those two. He's all like, we lasted for 7 years. Hope you get that. He's like, oh yeah, I hope so too. And then he's all like, well, you ever need a white guy for the show? And then he's all like, nah. And stuff. And it was just like a weird way to start your show. And it was kind of like, what the world? What kind of reality is this thing set in? And that's what's like the humor that Mark like brought to that show, and just the opening, just to like get you kind of like into it. And so, but sadly, his show didn't last for 7 years. It only lasted for 5. And when I get more into like the rundown thing, it was kind of interesting what happened because there was a 6th season plan, but some things just kind of happened. Anyway, so this show, so the thing about Mark and his roommate, see, the reason why he lives with 2 females is because um Holly Robertson Pete and Don Lewis was part of the first season, along with, how do you say his name, Marquise or Marcus Wilson. He was Tyler, their neighbor, a little kid. And one of the recurring characters was from Arvin, played by Omar Gooding. Ironically, Omar's been in the show since the beginning, and he's a recurring character later main, but he was never made into like part of the intro. So he was never in the intro for some bizarre reason. I don't know why. But yeah, so they were sorority sisters, and they lived in a house. And the person who owned the house was like this landlord dude who later died, but then the neighbor dude, Tyler's dad, owned the house. And they needed help paying the rent. So then they asked their friend Mark to come over and be their third roommate. So that's why he lives in the house with like 2 women and stuff. And the thing about him is that, he was like a basketball player of his youth, but he never became like successful. And so he was kind of just like bumming around, not having a job. And I don't know how he was supposed to pay them rent when he didn't have a job, because the Dawn character, she helped him get a job. So she was like a music teacher at this school, and she helped get him a substitute teaching job in science at that school. And so he did that for a better part of the first season, but then later on he became the PE teacher. Then he was offered like a assistant coaching job at like this college and stuff. And then he went to go play for this one basketball team, the Golden something Warriors. I forgot their name. But then he didn't stay because in his first game, he embarrassed himself badly, very badly. Now, one interesting thing about Mark is his dressing style. When he does like his teaching job, he dresses in typical khaki pants, but then he wears like a bright, colorful blazer jacket to go with it, and a weird, goofy like tie with some kind of weird pattern and stuff. And so like with what is it, Vanessa, she works at an accounting firm, right? And so the guys she dates are normally typically like sophisticated type dudes with really good paying jobs, rich type dudes, right? She is more of like the fun, bubbly type character who always dresses sexy. And she has like kind of this love-hate relationship with like Mark. He has a crush on her, but for the most part, they do not get along until they start dating in the 3rd season. And then things, that's because of fan shipping. But then it's like their relationship get like grow further by like the 4th season when he like proposes to her. And in the no wait, no, they start dating around the 3rd. I think he proposes around the 4th or 5th season or something like that. And so they were supposed to get married in the 6th season, but the sixth season never like happened and stuff. In the fifth season, a lot of fans don't like the fifth season. It had like the lowest amount of episodes. And ironically, see, this show started on Tuesday nights. Then, like I said, it went to Friday night for the whole TGI Friday thing. But what I forgot to mention is that towards the end of the series run, it was moved to like Saturday nights. I remember just looking for the show and I couldn't find it on Friday. And all of a sudden, it was on Saturday. And by that time, I lost interest in stuff in the show. I don't even think I seen the last season or the finale. All I know with the final episode was that part of it wasn't shown because of the death of Princess Diana. Now, this show, ironically, it used to be on Hulu, but then they lost the rights to stream it. And then last year in November, it came out on HBO Max. And of course, you have to pay for HBO Max. However, there's a way you can watch it for free and legally. There's an app called IMBD. You know, that site where they have tons of like actors, resumes and stuff. They have their own streaming site. They have shows they have acquired. They have shows they created. And everything on there is free. And every season of Hangin with Mr. Cooper is on there. You only gotta like watch 2 commercials. They're short. That's it. And it's like, why pay for it on HBO Max when you can watch it for free on IMBD? There are tons of shows from Netflix, Hulu, and HBO Max that are on IMBD you can watch for free. But you know, at some point, IMBD is probably going to start charging people. I mean, that's what Hulu did. Hulu used to be free until Netflix started charging people, and they're like, well, hey, why you make money while we can't? So then they started charging. And so, back with the characters. So anyway, Dawn's character, Robin, she is like a music teacher at that school. She's more straightforward, but she is also comedic at that time. However, something happened at season 2. She was written off the show. And see, the first season was more adult oriented with jokes and stuff like that. But then ABC saw how popular Hangin Mr. Cooper was, because in its first season it had like 14.6 in ratings and stuff, and it was competing with the likes of Fresh Prince at that time, which was a huge thing, and also Martin. And so they wanted more of kind of like a family friendly oriented type show, and so they decided to write her out in the second season, and they decided to bring in 2 new characters. Also, it made sense for them to bring in a younger character because remember Tyler? He was in the first season. And it was just weird seeing this little kid hanging around these adult people and no other kid for him to hang out with. It was kind of creepy. But with his character, he had a crush on Vanessa. And then his dad was the landlord to them, and he wanted to kick them all out until Tyler kind of like begged him, talking about how he likes hanging with them and stuff. Hanging with Mr. Cooper, see? And so he let them stay and everything. But then in the second season, we get new characters. Mark's cousin, Geneva Lee, was played by Sandra Quarterman. She was brought into the show. Basically, she going through like a bad breakup, and her daughter were gonna move in. Mark does not want this to happen because, you know, he liked it just between him and Vanessa. Somebody he kind of likes, kind of doesn't, and also likes dating other women. Don't want to bring in this kid. And then her daughter, Nicole, was played by Raven-Symoné. Now, here's the thing. If you've ever watched my channel and saw me bring up Raven-Symoné, you know I despise her with a lot of passion. I no longer am a fan of hers. I used to be back in the day, because who wasn't a fan of Raven-Symoné? All that changed when she joined The View. It's like, not everything she said got on my nerves. It was just, you know, she's one of those type of people who thinks differently, kind of like a hippie almost. That never bothered me. I'm like, hey, whatever. What bothered me is when she started talking out her butt. And she did that a lot towards the end of her run. It's ironic. Everybody who sits at that last like chair towards the end of the right always ends up talking out their butt. Most people don't, but a lot of them do. Even the good ones at some point will talk out their butt. It's something about that last chair. I don't know what it is, but it brings out the worst in people. I've said this before. Celebrities should never ever be a host, a permanent host on The View, because I end up losing respect for them. I lost respect for Raven, Candace, Rosie, not the Puerto Rican Rosie, Rosie O'Donnell. I lost respect for her. I didn't watch when Jenny McCarthy was on there, so I don't know how I feel about her right now. And yeah, I've even lost respect for like Whoopi and stuff at times. Now, like Candace and Raven, oh, I will never be a fan of theirs ever again, but especially Raven. But you know, I didn't always used to be that way. I used to be a huge Raven Simone fan. She is Raven Simone, you know what I'm saying? And to give credit when credit due, she did a great acting job in this show. It was really cool seeing her. And I remember when they got rid of Robin and brought in like Raven and her mom, I was okay with that because it's like I was a huge fan of like Raven, and Raven brought like a great quality to like the show. But Raven as an adult, I just can't stand no more. And it's because of her little funky attitude. And not only that, but I don't like how she dissed black people the way she did. I don't care if you have a problem with black people, especially if you're a black person who has a problem with your own race. That happens. Nobody's perfect, and people have problems with tons of people. However, it bothered the crap out of me. Because see, so my problem started when she was on The View running off the mouth. But then what really got me was, because see, the thing about her is that she's always been like a light-skinned person, right? But she is black. I don't know if she's mixed or she just has that light complexion like some black people do where their skin just turns like lighter. But Raven Simone refuses to acknowledge she is a black woman. She does not like being called a black woman. She does not like being called an African American. She calls herself, and I am not joking, she calls herself dark white. I'm not joking. I'm just like, how in the world can you call yourself a white girl when you clearly got black in you? So that first irritated me about her. And then just last year, because see, she's married now, right? And everybody knows she's a lesbian. Like, I have no problem with that. If you ever watch my channel, you know I ain't got no problem with LGBT. However, she blamed black people for why her and her then girlfriend, now wife, broke up. And the reason why she blamed black people, because she said, and I'm not making this up, they stared at her. So, okay, so black people looked at her, and that caused her and her girlfriend, who's white by the way, and that's not her wife, to break up. That don't make no sense. They broke up because they had problems. And if you ever heard Raven Simone talk, you know that girl got problems in the head. And like, I don't understand. First, how she can diss her own race by saying she's not even black and considers herself to be dark white. And then to say that the reason why her and her then girlfriend broke up is because black folks are looking at her. First things first, Raven Simone is famous, so if anybody's looking at her, it's probably because of that reason. Second thing second, she always wears her hair in a weird way, so people tend to look at people with different hairstyles. Third, she is a lesbian. People tend to stare at lesbians and stuff. And, you know, so when other races looked at her, oh, she didn't blame them for why they broke up, but she had to blame the black person. She clearly has a problem with her own race, which is ironic because when she was on That's So Raven, she said that they would not let her tan her skin because it had problems with like the camera and the lights. And she saw that as some type of like racial backlash profiling type stuff. A form of racism. So therefore she clearly liked her black skin at some point. But then something caused her to, I don't know, just like not like her own race, which is crazy because you want to know something about her career is that after That So Raven, because she's always been a child star, and everything she's ever starred in, live action wise, has always been a predominantly black series. She even guest stars on predominantly black series like Blackish. Okay? Have you ever, in her entire career, whether it's movies or TV show, have you ever seen her be in a white project? And I'm not counting voice animation, because those are the only white projects she's ever done, like animation. In her entire acting career, she has always been on black shows, black movies. Therefore, black people have always had her back because being a former child actor, nobody's gonna take you serious when you're an adult because she had an adult series called Georgia Peach or something like that. It got canceled after one season. You don't like she has like white friends in Hollywood, but you don't see them pulling her aside like, yo, be in my show and everything. No, because it's the black people who have her back. So if she really has a problem with black people, she needs to give back all those awards that she might have won from being in that stuff, because clearly she has a problem with her own kind and everything. And that what started my hatred for her. So she is clearly a person with problems in the head. And when you watched her on The View, you can clearly tell she got problems in the head. Her way of thinking is just a little too out there at times. And it's just, it bugged me how, with all that's been going on in the black race. Now, like I said, for look, we ain't perfect. Look, I know that. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, why put down your entire race and pretend you are white when the white people are the one who are constantly putting your behind down? It's like she's Candace Owen or Stacey Dash or something like that, you know? But I digress. So they joined the show, and ratings stayed pretty high. They was about 11 point something, and they stayed that way until season 3. By season 4, ratings dropped all the way to 9.5. And then I don't even know what the last season ratings were, because they don't even have that. And ironically, when they put this show out on DVD, they only put out the first 3 seasons and not the 4th or the 5th when ratings started to go down. And so, like I said, they were supposed to have a 6th season, but ABC told them and Step by Step, that they would bring the shows back if their freshman shows, which was Clueless and Sabrina the Teenage Witch, didn't do well. Sabrina did very well, but Clueless got canceled after one season and went to UPN. And so they brought back the white show Step by Step, but they didn't bring back Hangin with Mr. Cooper. Now there has been talks of like a reboot for some time, and ironically, all the entire cast said they would love to come back, even Raven. Oh, so Raven wants to come back to the black show and everything. But of course now she don't, because she's back with Disney Channel. Ooh, Disney Channel. And she's back with that That's So Raven's Home, or whatever it's called, Raven's Home and stuff. And so at some point that show's gonna burn out, because after 3 seasons, it started off with her moving in with like Chelsea and them raising their kids together. And now all of a sudden the entire cast has now left, and only like, because she had 2 kids on the show, a boy and a girl, but only the boy has stayed for her to move back at her dad's place and take care of him. At some point this show is going to burn out, especially when they got rid of the characters that people liked. Why they decided to change the format, hey, who knows? You know what I'm saying? And stuff. But you know, people, you've heard the rumors of her clashing with like the Cheetah Girls and other people, and the girl got problems and stuff. But yeah, there were talks of a reboot, but nothing so far. Who knows in the future, you know? Now in the 2nd season, Nell Carter appeared in the 2nd and the 3rd. She played PJ, and she played the principal at the school where Mark and the other characters like worked at and stuff. And but then for some reason she left in the 4th and never showed back up again. Um, this was like a decade before she passed away, sadly. May she rest in peace and stuff. But yeah, let's talk about the actual episode, right? Because like I said, I was gonna do like a rundown review of the entire series, and I was gonna like um, also review the episode. So this episode. So Mark and Vanessa, they constantly getting into it and stuff like that. They don't like each other. And then their roommate Robin's all like, you have a crush on her because you always checking her out. And he doesn't want to admit it, but then he does. He's constantly hitting on her on the first episode, but nothing really comes of that until like the third. And so like Robin tells him that she got him a job at the school and he's going to be a substitute teacher. He's not too thrilled about that. He just wants to play basketball. When he goes to like the classroom, boy, like at first, like the kids are like making fun of him, but like, well, can we just call you Coop instead of Mr. Cooper and everything? He's like, fine. He's trying to be like the cool teacher. But they are taking advantage of him big time. They want to play music in class. They all start dancing until the principal comes in and breaks it up. And so Mark is in trouble. So now Mark's like, all right, fine, I gotta be on my best behavior, this and that. Well, Erwin is kind of like the class clown and doesn't want to like, stay there. He wants to go and get some tickets and like sell them to other people to like some kind of concert thing that's going on. So when Mark sits in the chair, his butt is glued to the chair thanks to Erwin. So Erwin can sneak out. The principal comes back as the chair is like literally stuck to his butt. The dude's like 6 foot tall and there's a chair sticking from like his butt and stuff. And so like whatchamacallit. So the principal dude's coming back and he's like sitting down, telling everything's all nonchalant. And everything, but the principal knows what's up because this has happened before. So when he comes home, he has a giant like they had to cut him out. So you see his boxer, but they come out in a heart shape around his butt for some reason. So in a way, Robin, she's exercising because she wants like the perfect body like Vanessa, and she's very jealous of the way Vanessa looks. And Vanessa's coming in talking about this guy she's dating from an accounting firm, and like because she loves those like rich type dudes, with sophisticated jobs and stuff. And so then she comes back with like this really sexy outfit, which Mark cannot contain himself, right? And so like when she introduces the dude who she's about to go on a date with to Mark, he's just like clowning on the dude. He doesn't like the dude because the dude's like very well spoken, very well educated and stuff like that. So he's like above that of Mark's league, and so he's kind of like threatened by that, and he doesn't understand why she would want a guy who has a stiff upper lip like that. And so like basically the episode like ends with like her eating chocolate, or she's eating ice cream with chocolate syrup, and he tells her, chocolate's just like another metaphor for like kind of like either you hot and horny or like you're depressed, something like that. And so she reveals that her date was boring as boring can be. He's like watching glue dry, and he told her, you would have had a whole lot funner like time with me if you would have went out with me instead of him. And so when he goes back to like school to teach and everything, he's laying down the law to the class, how they're not going to take advantage of him no more and this and that. And he's no longer going to be like the nice little teacher dude. He's going to be stern with them. And then he gets Erwin back by super gluing his butt into the chair. They have a mutual thing of respect. And so that's basically just like the first episode. It's like a nice little introduction to who these characters are and like what they kind of like going through and stuff. And like I said before, this was like a really good like comedy sitcom from like the early 90s. And what's so crazy is you just don't see good comedy shows like this no more. I miss the laugh tracks. I miss the jokes. I miss the like goofy silliness of like the characters and the slapstick like humor and stuff. It was one of those greats of like the 90s. Happy Black History Month, everybody. I'll talk to you later. Bye.